description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know, the first interview, we all know that she never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She intended to have the baby at home. We know that they deceived the public about the birth data and time of the whole event.
Tom Bauer just tore open a door no one was supposed to look behind. Not with a rumor, not with a whisper, but with a claim so sharp, so unsettling that it instantly rewired one of the most protected stories in modern royal history. The claim was simple. Archie, the child the world has been told lives quietly in California, may not actually live there at all. That instead, Archie lives in the United Kingdom. And not just anywhere, but with his mother, who isn't Meghan Markle. And if that sentence alone makes your heart skip, it's because of what it quietly suggests. And the moment those words land, everything shifts. The fairy tale doesn't just crack, it tilts. Because if Archie lives in the UK, not tucked away under California sunshine, but somewhere far more guarded, far more old world, then what we've been shown might only be the surface, a carefully polished reflection. And beneath it, something heavier, something unresolved, something people have tried very hard not to explain. This isn't about random chatter or internet noise. This is about patterns, about timelines that don't quite relax, about silence that feels intentional, and about one question that keeps returning no matter how often it's brushed aside. Where is Archie really living, and why does that question make people so uncomfortable? Before emotion takes over, before motive and blame start dancing around the room, the dates have to sit still. Because dates don't care about image. Harry and Meghan married on May 19th, 2018. Archie's reported birth date is May 6th, 2019. That places conception somewhere around August 2018. Barely months into marriage. No long separations, no mysterious gaps, no convenient years to hide in, just a narrow window when everything was supposed to be perfect, when the smiles were wide and the unity was on display for the world. That narrow window matters because it cages the possibilities. Any explanation has to squeeze itself into those months. Anything that doesn't fit there doesn't fit at all. And once you accept that, the story stops being flexible. It becomes rigid, unforgiving, and that's when the whispers turn sharp. The most explosive possibility is the one people hesitate to say out loud, that Archie could be Harry's biological child, but not with Meghan, that another woman based in the United Kingdom gave birth, that the child stayed there, and that Meghan knew. She didn't deny the child. She didn't expose the situation. She stepped into the public role anyway. Just pause there. Feel how heavy that is. Because if that were true, it wouldn't just be a betrayal. It would be a betrayal that arrived almost immediately after the wedding, not years later. Not after erosion, but right at the beginning. And marriages don't usually survive that, especially not royal ones, especially not when the stakes are public, historic, and brutal. So if that version were true, the real question isn't what happened. It's why everything didn't end right there. Because relationships like this don't exist in isolation. They exist inside power structures, status, visibility, wealth, access. And when those elements are extreme, they change how people respond to pain. Staying married to Prince Harry wasn't just about staying with a husband. It meant global relevance, institutional proximity, long-term leverage, a permanent place in history that doesn't fade when headlines move on. Walking away wouldn't just end a marriage, it would end access. And in systems like this, leaving isn't always strength. Sometimes staying is, especially when staying means holding something unspeakably powerful. Because secrets don't weaken the person who holds them. They empower them. Silence becomes currency. Exposure becomes a threat that never has to be voiced. Seen that way, survival doesn't require forgiveness. It requires calculation. And once leverage exists, it changes everything, quietly, relentlessly. The child stops being just a child. The child becomes access. And access becomes control. Time isn't free anymore. Visits aren't casual. Everything becomes negotiated. Permission replaces instinct. Control doesn't need shouting. It lives comfortably in routine. Under this dynamic, Harry wouldn't simply see his child because he wants to. He'd see the child when conditions are met. And those conditions wouldn't need to be dramatic. They'd be subtle, invisible to the outside world. That's how power lasts. This explains why a marriage might continue even when trust should have shattered. Not because the wound wasn't real, but because staying offered more than leaving ever could. Once that balance tips, it reshapes everything, even how a child fits into the story. But here's where the silence starts to wobble. Because the public has seen a child presented as Archie in the United States. Photos, footage, carefully framed moments meant to reassure the world that Archie lives with Harry and Meghan in America. And if the claim is that Archie primarily lives in the UK, then these images create a tension that can't be ignored. Either the claim is wrong, or what's being shown isn't the full picture. This isn't about accusing anyone outright. It's about asking why these appearances are necessary at all. If everything were exactly as presented, there would be no mystery, no hesitation, no recurring doubt. But once the claim exists, once it refuses to dissolve, the images stop being proof and start becoming part of the puzzle. At first glance, the most dramatic explanation feels feels obvious, that the child shown publicly isn't the same child, that moments are curated, that reality is staged. But elaborate deception is dangerous. Every appearance multiplies risk. Every photo invites scrutiny. Every public moment creates variables that can unravel. True power usually avoids that. It prefers quiet. If secrecy were essential, silence would be safer than performance. No photos, no moments, no reinforcement needed. So if performance exists, it isn't because it's safe. It's because it serves a purpose greater than safety. And that opens the door to the final possibility. Strip away infidelity. Remove betrayal entirely. Imagine a surrogate arrangement in the United Kingdom. Fully agreed upon, fully intentional, no affair, no scandal, but something changed. The surrogate didn't give the child. The child remained in the UK, and suddenly control shifted. In that version, the child exists outside Meghan's direct reach. There's no public role to protect, no emotional bond to manage, no image utility. For Harry, the connection is deeply personal. For Meghan, it becomes optional. And that imbalance matters, because control thrives where attachment is unequal. Access becomes conditional again. Permission becomes leverage again. But even this explanation strains under pressure, because if the child had no public function, there would be no reason to present one. Which brings us back to the quiet truth humming underneath everything. This isn't about proving one version of events. It's about understanding behavior, about noticing what's guarded, what's avoided, what's never clarified. Some stories aren't exposed by documents. They're exposed by patterns, by the things people protect with absolute precision. And this story was never meant to end cleanly, because unanswered questions keep power exactly where it is. And if this feels unfinished, unresolved, slightly out of reach, that isn't a flaw. That's the design.